With the release of the Luard and Shiranui Stride deck sets, a lot of people are probably going to be wondering what cards you should be adding to those decks in particular. Well, this is the video for you. Hey there guys, Noah here, and welcome back to another Vanguard discussion video. Today we're going to be taking a look at both the Shiranui and Luard Stride deck sets to determine which cards you should be including in your actual list. Now keep in mind, I won't be going over generic staple cards such as effect triggers, regardless pieces, what have you. Those should be pretty self-explanatory outside of one exception to this, possibly two depending on how long this takes to go through, but these are some of the cards that you should be picking up. So let's start off with Shiranui. Starting off with the ride line, I feel like everyone and their mother is ready to Soda Joji Grade 2. This simply has the effect when placed on Van. If you look at top 5, choose up to 2 normal units with stuff in their card base, remove them, reveal them, put one of them into the soul, and call the other one. It's pretty good overall because a large majority of your cards have the word stealth in the name, which matters quite a bit considering how often you're going to be needing to search for very specific pieces, such as your restanders or another one of your grade 3, so on and so forth, and it's just overall a pretty good card in general. Another card that I feel like a lot of people are running specifically for certain matchups is the Verena Esperadilla. So Verena Esperadilla simply has the effect, when your Vanguard attacks, Soul Blast 1, stand this unit. Why does this matter? Because a lot of decks are going to start teching in the new Regardless piece coming out of Triple Drive Booster, which gives the board a resist-like effect, meaning you won't be able to dominate them to get the restands off of your grade 2s. So this is kind of where Esperadilla comes into play. Now, keep in mind, this card is very expensive right now. However, in Triple Drive Booster, it is getting a reprint if I'm not mistaken, so if you want to wait until then to pick it up, then I would strongly recommend to do so. But otherwise, this card is actually very good, and much like the grade 2 in the ride line, this is kind of mandatory. The rest of the cards, it can be kind of like whatever. So, like this grade 1 from BT11, where when it's placed, choose a stealth in your drop zone and put it to soul. This is simply for Soul Blast management, something that the deck is going to be going through quite a bit. You Soul Blast for practically almost every single effect. It's really, this just helps you out overall, and it's going to be useful. So yeah, definitely run it. And lastly, out of all the cards that I saw, because the deck in itself is pretty solved, is the Brachia Force. This simply has the effect where when its attack hits, retire the unit, draw 1, and then choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So you know, you get a little bit of a plus engine from it. You go at worst even, so it's a nice situational attack you can run. But yeah, that's Shiranui, so let's move on to Luard. So starting off with the ride line, although everyone and their mother is running the Leofarl, you know, just so that way you don't run into a situation where you don't have something to retire for the stride skill. A lot of the times, because of how many grade 1s you run, and honestly, the fact that Gendiva doesn't really exist in this format, more than likely, you will not have an issue right now when it comes to actually getting, you know, making sure you have stuff to retire for the stride skill, which is why I'm running Blaster Arc in the ride line. And this simply has the effect where, when it's placed, so you counterblast 1 and retire one of your rear guards, and then choose one of your opponent's rear guards to retire it, and this unit gets +1 drive until end of turn. So on a good turn, you'll retire Luminosity Wizard, which will give +5 to Van, and then have a booster and make it a 23k column that they are going to be forced to 2-guard block. So yeah, that's actually ridiculous. And mind you, because of how many crits you're going to be running in the deck, you're possibly going to be hitting double crit off it. So yeah, that's just a thing apparently. Another card that you're going to probably want to run, at least until the Youthquake promo comes out, whenever that eventually comes out, is the Painkiller Angel. So pretty self-explanatory with the skill where you Soul Blast 1 and retire it to draw 1. Pretty much the sword breaker of the deck if you've been playing long enough. Another card that people have been teching in specifically for multi-attack decks like such as Leonard and of course Shiranui is the Parceris. So it simply has the effect where when your Vanguard is attacked, if it's the 5th battle of this turn or more, bind her, choose one of your units, and it can't be hit. So it's essentially like a roll-off / Hanali kind of card. Like the kind of defensive cards you see in Premium, it's in Standard. And because it's a grade 1, you can search it off of the Luard Stride scale. So I would definitely recommend picking up a playset of this because I'm not sure how the meta is going to play out. Outside of the fact that Shiranui will be everywhere and it gets 5 attacks pretty easily. So one card that I think a lot of people don't run, that I feel like depending on your build you may want to consider, is Listener to Drift and Drain. She simply has the effect where if your Vanguard has only 1 clan, Soul Blast 2 to countercharge 1. This matters quite a bit considering how often you're going to be counterblasting in this deck, and because you're going to be counterblasting off the Stride skill, off of Grade 2 Morfessa, off of Drag Driver, off of maybe even Blaster Arc if you somehow manage to get it on board just for the retire. So a lot of the time you're going to be eating up counterblast pretty quickly, and it will add up. So being able to get a, main face counter charge so that way you can keep the combos going is very good. Obviously you still will run this alongside the Abyssal Elf for somewhat consistent counter charging. You will probably run this as like a 1 or 2 of depending on your build, assuming you even run it at all, but it is worth looking into. And another card that I feel like a lot of people have recently been using is the Maple, Grade 2 Maple. So when your Vanguard that's Grade 3 or greater is placed during the ride phase, if you don't already have a Maple card on the field, you call it to rear, which you will then activate Luard Stride skill to retire it, to call something. And then, if I'm not mistaken, if you've got another Maple in drop, you could still call it on top of that. And once the first Maple gets killed off, because both of them are on standby. I'm not 100% if that's how it works, but someone can tell me in the comment section below. Honestly, Maple is such a staple card that I definitely would recommend running. And lastly, out of all the cards that I personally run, and I feel like are extremely underappreciated, it is Dia Ruined. This simply has the effect of, when placed on rear, if your Vanguard has 1 clan, Soul Blast 1, ditch 1 from hand, choose a card from your drop zone that has the same clan as your Vanguard and put it to your hand. Why does this matter? Because our PG for the deck, which is Dragsaver Esteros, is a Shadow Paladin. And because we will always be on a Shadow Paladin Vanguard, this means we can actually fetch our PGs directly from drop without having to actually activate Luard's other skill to actually send it back to deck. We can just directly add them as long as we're willing to pay the cost. And that's actually pretty valuable, considering there are a lot of decks that you are going to need perfect guards like specifically for specific matchups, like such as Leonor, which they get pretty big on their own right. Dragnoa, depending on the build, can be kind of annoying with it. So what you can end up doing is you can also search for other specific combo pieces, such as your Drag Risen Morfessa or your Simius. Regardless of which way you look at it, there are a lot of search targets off of this one card, and I feel like people need to start running it because Shiranui is going to be everywhere, and if you're not able to kill your opponent by the time you go into your second Stride turn, then you're pretty much dead on the spot. So this card comes up quite often. You should definitely be running it. And with that being said, that's going to do it for some of the cards that you may actually want to consider picking up. Obviously, there is a couple cards that are going to be coming out in the future, such as the new Regalis piece from Triple Drive Booster, which will give your board resist. I also know for a fact, once Divine Set 1 comes out, that people are also going to be running, kind of a more interesting order build. You may want to look into that, as well as a potential viable option for Luard if you're interested. But that is going to do it for this video, so until next time, this is Noah, and I will catch you guys later. Bye, everyone. We'll be right back.